Hey, this is Scott, and I'm here to record another Saturday service. This is going to be a brief one as I am traveling right now. We got the Blood Mother sigil, and we got the Blood Mother sigil and artwork for the Temple of Witchcraft. Uh, that is on Redbubble. It is with that Venus of Willendorf, or I think that's German, so it might be Willendorf. But it is there. That is the background for it. This was our blood mother. This was our one of our first mothers that we did the classes and meditations on. I'm actually hoping to teach that this year at some point, the Nine Mothers, because that was quite an incredible journey of these really primal powers that we explored in Temple of Witchcraft. And having taken the class and being a teacher, it's something I can offer. And it's not really something that's out there. So I'm trying to figure out how we can do that. Um, Today, I wanted to talk about the thought that came through this week with several people. And so this is just a little bit of a story. There are no cards involved this week. There's no reading. There's no tarot. There's no any of those things. I just want you to sort of think about the intersection where capitalism, money, monetization has overlapped your spirituality and what that might mean for yourself. I was in a class a few weeks ago. It was actually 2 weeks ago, and I took a note down in which they said, um, I know adepts who are poor. What is an adept? An adept I'm going to pull up a dictionary, is someone who is very skilled or proficient at something. In the occult, this is someone who has identified a specific level of knowledge, skill, or aptitude, maybe in a specific order, maybe just in the magic of their life, and it is a combination of knowledge, skill, and experience. It's not just experience. It is not just knowledge, right? Like you can know a lot of things and not be an adept. You could just be, like a couch magician, right? Like where you dictate from your armchair. There's a level of self-transformation that comes through when we're speaking about adepts. When I'm talking about adepts, that's who we're talking about. And the idea was that we have modernly, um, and I think for lots of reasons, but most recently because of social media and the way things are, propped up and presented in a lot of these spaces, is that it's very glamorous, or there's a look, or there is a level of wealth associated with adepthood. Like if you attain mastery of something, you therefore become financially solvent, and all of these things sort of happen for you, and money comes your direction. While I think that there's a lot of new thought and new age thought involved in manifestation, and the power of mind and attracting money as manifestation, these are results of work. So yes, conceivably, someone who is an adept could be wealthy, right? But it's not always true, right? We think about some of our classic adepts, which for the most part are men. Um, but I'll bypass that argument for today. But when we look at them, we see the Christ, we see the Buddha, we see these prophets, these adepts, these people who have experienced spiritual enlightenment. What are they? They're usually people who are divorced from the material trappings of things. You look at the Buddha, they show non-attachment, all of these sorts of things. But we live in a capitalistic society in which we need that money in order to survive. This is an essential component of today. For the most part, unless you're living in a designed community, which took money to build, right? It took an investment of land or any of those things. It took money to build. We live in a culture of currency which survives on money, and now at this point in monetization. So it's very easy for us to see our spirituality uh, being successful, right? When it has really nothing to do with that. Our spirituality is about our relationships and our connections. End. Our spirituality is then about our spiritual growth within those. Spiritual, very umbrella term. That could be whatever it means for you, but it does mean our growth within those things. Are we touching that invisible real that when we touch, it touches us and it changes and transforms us and liberates us from the illusions we have about whatever. This is going to change and be different depending on the tradition that you're in, but it is kind of within the realm of where things are happening. You can argue in some occult and magical traditions, this is the changes that we help to forge and create, and we can argue in more, you know, ascetic or ascension-based, heavenly traditions. This is something that is attained through faith, in which we are liberated by a greater power. But either way, right, that word, liberation, evolution, these things um, are part of the paradigm, right? None of those things have anything to do with money, right? Um, to liberate means to set free and release from the restraints of bondage. It's from the Latin liberatus, to set free. So to be unenslaved, to be unrestricted, to be uh, a liberator of ourselves is to mean that where we draw these hard lines, we understand maybe the reason that we do, and we're no longer triggered by them. Um, uh, if you're encountering a trigger, that's where you have your personal work. If you're getting incensed over a word or something that's said to you, then you know where your spiritual development and growth has to take place, and it has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with your action about it. So I digress. I'm going to go. I just want to sort of zero in around this. I just want to zero in around this. So if spirituality, magical growth, development, evolution, all of these things have nothing to do with monetization or money, right? Although we need them in order for people to see us anymore, because there's not town squares in the same way that they were in the 80s, in the 90s even, where we could go to posting boards, like literal physical posting boards, and that's where everyone went. Now it's all dispersed everywhere and nowhere. We need these tools in order to do it, but they're conflated. They overlap in a very strange way. So just because someone is materially successful and financially successful does not mean that they are a good spiritual or evolved person, because they have nothing to do with each other. But they could be the result. One could be the result of the other, especially if you're dealing in magic, or you're a televangelist con man who's like taking billions of dollars from people. But there's really uh, monetary success is extremely helpful in a commerce-based, money-based society, but there's really no equation between the two. And I think the more that we try to draw an equation, like my money is my health and my spirituality, the more we tie into that system, which asks us to believe that and move further away from actual evolution and growth. We want money. Honestly, we need it. That's how we survive in this society. Even if we have complex, beautiful, interwoven communities which are supporting each other, there's still a component of money that's involved in those things, because that's the way the world evolves around those those groups. So I'm not saying that anyone needs to live in poverty to be spiritual. That is not what I'm saying at all, nor am I saying that money is evil, although I could argue that pretty good in a lot of ways, in the ways that wealth is accumulated and what it's used for. And the studies are in, when people become extremely wealthy, what happens in the rewiring of your brain, this disconnect from the world around you, which is always why I say, regardless of our status situation or our bank, spirituality, magic is about relationships, and it's about the deeper we go into our spiritual practice, if it is not leading us towards more emotional connection, more personal awareness about what those emotional connections are and our responses to them, and deeper relationship with everything, with our food, with our clothing, with our resources, with where things are coming from and what we have and what is being done with it, uh, to our family, friends, and our chosen family, and our pets and our plants. All of these things are relationship. And I'm not saying you have to do what I say that those relationships, but I'm saying be a conscientious objector to what a uh, monetized society, which is driven by billionaires, is telling you is spirituality and magic. That's filtering down through like influencer and programs which say more wealth is more spirituality, and negate that. Yeah, you need it. You do need it. Right now, we need it. Maybe there's a future in which we don't. Maybe there's a Star Trek society in which we've gone beyond that, and I pray to see the day, but I don't know that I'll see it in my lifetime. If I do, woohoo! But but until then, shift the thinking into relationships, growth, and evolution, to owning what we feel and think, to creating better relationships, you know, those sorts of things. Because an adept does not need to be rich, though it's very helpful, maybe. I'm being facetious, but I just want to make the point on those things. Someone can be very spiritual evolved, and I point us back at those old images of the monks, of the hermit card. Maybe that would be a good card to look at this week is the hermit. Put the hermit next to the empress and draw a card in between for yourself and see what that means. It's about relationships. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Thank you so much for watching this week. I hope you enjoyed my little talk, my little sermon with the Blood Mother. And I'll have some videos and things this week. I'll be at the studio now that I'm back from Northern California. And I've already booked appointments for Sunday morning, although I have some Sunday afternoon slots available. And Monday, I'm unavailable. I booked that well in advance. Those clients reached out to me and we booked those things. But I'm around this week. I'm gonna put some things out there. I got some good things for you, and I'll be working on the book. So I hope you enjoyed. Uh, Blessed be times 3.